there. It's Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you watch it on YouTube, you know what to do, the like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, please also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. Fun game Tuesday night inside Fiserv Forum. Home team won. Visiting team had a great streak snapped. Final score, number 15, Marquette, 76. Number 6, Purdue, 58. The Golden Eagles, Stevie Mitchell, he led all scorers with 21 points on just 11 shots. But the star of the game, it's Kam Jones, 6'5" senior, took 12 shots, made 7 of them, finished with 17 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, and an 18-point victory over the back-to-back Big Ten champs and our reigning national runners-up. Team that had just disposed of Alabama 4 days earlier. Norlander, I tried to tell you in the preseason, I think multiple times, maybe 3 or 4 or 7, I tried to tell you, Kam Jones, my little homie from Memphis, would emerge as the favorite to win Big East Player of the Year. Are you ready to jump on board?
No. He's going to be there, but Ryan Kalkbrenner still very much in that mix at this point. In fact, I'd say we're now, 16 days into the season? Kam Jones, Kalkbrenner, and Janai Broom are probably your top 3 National Player of the Year in the race, and we're way early. They're just a notch above everyone else, and frankly, that situation is going to change over the next 6 days because we've got a whole lot of good teams playing a whole lot of good games. But within the confines of the Big East, I think it could be a pretty awesome battle between Kalkbrenner and Kam Jones. Kalkbrenner's hitting like 85% of his shots. It's outrageous. Kam Jones right now averaging 22.6 points, 6 assists, 5.6 boards, 1.8 steals. He's shooting 72.7% from 2 and 48% from 3 and has an offensive rating of 143.2 at KenPom. Incredible. But yeah, he is making his presence known. By no means an unknown commodity. He was in our top 10 players in the country going into the season and a preseason All-American level player. And here he is getting a career high 13 points and 10 assists there to get the first trip dub since D-Wade in the Elite Eight in 2003 against then number 1 Kentucky there. Some good stuff out of him, but also, Stevie Mitchell, as you mentioned, having a game high 21. Chase Ross had 12. And then the obvious thing when you watch the game, and they had Benetti and Raftery had mentioned this a couple times on the call, Marquette's defense was especially ready and up to the task. What was interesting is after the game, and Raf interviewed Shaka on the court, he said Purdue still wound up getting a lot of what they wanted to do on some of the stuff that they were running. But if you watch the game, it was quite clear that they were not ready to meet the energy level of what Marquette was, and that was particularly impressive there. And the fact that a Purdue team that we no longer has Edie, and I'm not stepping off of what we said just a few shows ago. This was, you walk into Fiserv Forum, it might be a 2-timer, but you got to trust that building, GP. Marquette still was able to really establish its presence in the interior, 38-22 in paint points there. And it wasn't just that. Marquette was able to play pretty stifling on-ball defense, dominate in the interior, and get 19 fast break points off of, I think it was 15 Purdue turnovers. So impressive stuff all around. Kam Jones is the big story. It's a cool story. We've got a guy who maybe he won't go for 40 in a game. I maintain he's still going to be a threat to do that. But if he's going to be more of a triple-double threat, then look out. And yeah, he's right there at the top of the list with Kalkbrenner and Janai Broom for early National Player of the Year race.
Terrific performance last night. I wrote about this in the top 25 and 1. It's a point I've made a lot of times, even if I do sometimes disregard it, as recently as, a month ago when I said I think Cooper Flagg is going to be the National Player of the Year. It's not usually the 5-star freshman who pop like this. It is typically a legitimate NBA prospect who has already been in college and could have reasonably entered and or stayed in the NBA draft, but for whatever reason, they decided to come back to school. That is Kam Jones. And now he's having the type of senior year that I think anybody who makes that decision would hope to have. You're playing for a nationally relevant team in front of big crowds on big stages and having big performances. You know, it's established. He's my little homie from Memphis. He graduated from ECS. It's a private school in the area and wasn't really recruited by Memphis seriously at all. I mean, they were aware of him, obviously, but he was not a priority to his hometown big basketball brand. And that's among the, I don't want to say that's among the reasons he ended up at Marquette. He might have picked Marquette over Memphis, even if Memphis had made him priority number one. But it is a fact they did not really make him a priority. And now he looks like an All-American. I did love last night that he took a moment in his postgame to mention his high school coach, Terry Tippett. You might not know this because, like, why would you? But I did tweet it over the weekend. Terry Tippett is a high school basketball coaching legend in Memphis. When I graduated college and first started, covering the sport at the Commercial Appeal newspaper, I spent a lot of time at White Station High School, which is where Terry Tippett was at the time. Among others, he coached Ernest Shelton there, who went to Alabama, Robert O'Kelly there, who went to Wake Forest. He won state championships at 3 different schools. He passed away over the weekend at the age of 79. He coached Kam Jones at ECS, and Kam said he wanted to dedicate that performance to his coach and this entire season to his coach. And, coming on the heels of John Calipari also very publicly, honoring Terry Tippett over the weekend on social media in a way that he didn't have to, but felt compelled to. I just, being a high school coach can be a thankless job sometimes. You don't get rich and famous doing that for the most part. And so you've got one of the biggest coaches in the sport and one of the biggest players in the sport. Both have personal relationships with this high school coach of Memphis and made a note to mention him over the past days. I appreciate, as somebody who knew Terry, liked Terry, and really enjoyed all the time I spent with him, I appreciated Kam doing that last night.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'd seen your note on that. So thoughts with his family, and yeah, those kind of people really function as the gears that help the sport continue to turn. A lot of high school level coaches that have these long-lasting connections with a lot of people in particularly college circles, but NBA as well. They don't get a lot of shine beyond the confines of their own given communities, but they have huge impacts that span many years and many people and all across the country there. As for Purdue, Trey Kaufman-Renn he was coming off 26 points against Bama. That was a career high. He had 16 points, 8 rebounds, 3 turnovers in this one. Wasn't a game-changing kind of player. Marquette, we're gonna get to the Gonzaga game in a second here, but watching the Gonzaga game Monday night and watching this game last night, I just felt by the time we got to halftime that I knew how the game was going to end. I felt that Marquette was dictating the conversation. Got revenge, by the way, for losing in the Maui title game last year against Purdue. And these teams will meet in Mackey in a year. But this was only the second time Marquette's ever beaten Purdue. It's now 2-11 versus the Boilermakers in the history of that series there. And Braden Smith had some really nice moments. Fletcher Lawyer, a little up, a little down. No shame in the loss whatsoever, GP. But for Purdue, it finally gets knocked off on the road. We talked about the streak in the previous couple of shows there. I do wonder if when they're in big spots against good teams, which Marquette is certainly that. And I got a question for you on MU in just a second here. Will if Braden Smith, is he going to be the guy to take the big shot? Can it be Kaufman-Renn? I have all the confidence in the world that Braden Smith is going to wind up as being among the 3 to 5 most valuable point guards in the country, if not eventually number 1. But I did wonder about that in this spot here last night, because also Marquette's not a team that is physically imposing. And now that being said, they're just so well coached and so well disciplined. They've got a great culture there that they can overcome those kind of things. But Purdue was unable to flip the script in the game on Tuesday night, and I thought that was certainly noticeable. Marquette is 18-12 GP under Shaka Smart when playing ranked opponents. That's obviously a really healthy record. It's now 5-0 in back-to-back seasons. That has not happened for this program. This is a little bit of a wow here. But Marquette, and some of this is maybe a function of the schedule, but some of it, frankly, is the state of the program and the coaches and all that. Last time Marquette started consecutive seasons 5-0 was back from 2008 to 2010. So it's been a minute there. And I think one of the bigger reasons why, in addition to the schedule, is Marquette is now plus 18 in turnover margin. So Purdue wasn't able to turn Marquette over at any kind of efficient rate there. And because of, frankly, the returning cast that they have, they lose Kolick, which is, and Iguodala, those are big players. But having so many returning players is a key part of that here. And that's going to be necessary for a Marquette team that we think has got a chance to consistently be in or around that top 10 conversation. If you're going to minimize your turnovers, man, that's going to go a long, long way. Hey, here's my question for you. And then take it where you want, or we can go on to Gonzaga, San Diego State. Since the onset of COVID, so call it the 2020-2021 season, okay? Is there a better program in the country that has not made a Final Four than Marquette? So you got to toss out your Purdue's. You got to toss out, you got to toss out UConn. If you want to include the 2021, that would obviously mean that, Gonzaga, Baylor, they met in the title game, so they don't apply there. I don't know if there is. I mean, Marquette's.
When did Houston last make the Final Four?
Houston last made the Final Four the same year. That's Gonzaga and Baylor. So they're in that conversation. So they wouldn't apply to this. So I just don't think that there is. I think what is Marquette 80-30 under Shaka Smart. They have had 2 seeds. They haven't made the deep run yet. But if you're watching the show and you want to comment in the post after, if you're watching this after the fact, I'd be interested to hear. Maybe you want to say Tennessee might be there. Bama just made a Final Four, so they're not in this conversation. North Carolina's been, obviously Duke has been. Auburn has not. It was there in 2019. But I think that Marquette's got a really good case. Now, it's a specific line of delineation. We're talking about the best program yet to make the biggest stage in the sport over the past 4.5 years. And I didn't prep you with this one ahead of time, but I just wonder, think about the top of your head. Is it Arizona? Maybe. But I think Marquette's got a really good shot. And right now, it looks like it could be pacing toward another season where it's, a top 3 seed.
Yeah, I'd have to really dive in to give you a definitive answer. You go look at Tommy Lloyd's record since he took over at Arizona. It's outstanding. Yeah. But Marquette and Shaka would be in the conversation. And perhaps I'll bounce around a little bit. There's a lot of stuff in my head. Perhaps there's a lesson in the Shaka Smart story because, contrary to the way some framed it, he did not run Texas into the ground. He was fine. It wasn't great. Even Shaka would tell you that, I'm certain, but he didn't run it into the ground. It just didn't pop for whatever reason. But he gets another opportunity and he jumps at it, obviously. And now he looks like Shaka Smart, rising coaching star that he was at VCU before he ever got to Texas. And so I say all that to say, you see this with NFL quarterbacks sometimes. Look around the league. There's all these guys that franchises just gave up on, and now they're doing okay for other players. It's just sometimes you need time. You need a new.
You're saying Shaka Smart is the Geno Smith.
I'm saying he's Sam Darnold. I'm saying Shaka Smart is the Sam Darnold.
Better than Sam Darnold. I'm saying better than Sam.
What
Darnold.
I'm trying to tell you is Shaka Smart is the Baker Mayfield of college basketball.
He's also better than Baker. I don't know if there is a quarterback right now that applies to, but I understand the analogy.
You understand the point, even so there's just if somebody is really good and then the next stop it doesn't go so well, it doesn't mean that their career has fallen off necessarily. And perhaps Shaka is a reminder of that. He's been fabulous in Milwaukee, and just he gave credit to Purdue last night. I love the quote. He would say, he said, I'll just read it to you. So much respect for Purdue. I would say, other than UConn in college basketball right now, they have the best program. The consistency that they've shown, the fact they're able to lose a guy like Zach Edey and still have a team that can play with and beat anyone. So that's a great win for us. So he tips his cap to Purdue. I think you could say a lot of those same things, similar things about the program he's running in Milwaukee. Like I said earlier in the week, I just love that these two men made this game. They both were coming off challenging things. And even Matt would know, if you go to Fiserv Forum on a Tuesday night and Stevie Mitchell is going to lead all scores and Kam Jones is going to get a triple-double, you're probably going to have a hard time with that. I saw Myron Metcalf, a buddy at ESPN, tweet last night, does Matt Painter know he doesn't have to schedule this way? Alabama on a Friday, at Marquette on a Tuesday, Big Ten schedule to come. And I'm sure he does, as Myron knows. But I like that he does. I'd rather watch what we watched last night than most of the stuff we get this time of the year.
Well, I mean, I posted this on Blue Sky on Tuesday night, and that it's no surprise that these coaches and programs decided to play each other this way because they operate on a wavelength that frankly most others can't. We alluded to this on a recent episode there, but Shaka Smart, and it's not even stubborn because I talked with Shaka a little bit about this when I saw him on the road in the summer when they didn't add another transfer. He's not anti-transfer portal at all. Tyler Kolek originally transferred from George Mason. Look what he did for the program there. But when you've got a good thing going and you're still more than content and have ultra confidence in the people in your program, and you have a big trust and faith in how you are evaluating recruiting from a high school level up, he doesn't feel the need to mess with that. And they poke around on a couple transfers, and then they find out the deal, and then they're like, you know what, we're all set. We are more than okay. Go ahead and continue to hunt there. And Painter, it's not exactly the same, but also obviously in our roster laden with transfers, and he is as capable and as frankly as trusting in his instincts as a coach evaluator of player talent at the high school level as maybe anyone. He does not give a damn about recruiting rankings, and I mean he doesn't. Some coaches might say they don't, but they can't help but look. If recruiting rankings disappeared forever, it wouldn't bother Matt Painter one bit. He does not care. Look at where Braden Smith was ranked, CJ Cox. You go on down the list there. Purdue is not the school for the most part that's going to get top 50 kind of talent. Every so often, someone will pop in there, but the way that those two coaches run their outfits is different from most others. And so it was only appropriate, frankly, that they agreed to a home and home because they've got a lot of similarities there and clearly are operating like, top 10 units in the country over the past 5 years or so.
If you're curious, if you care, I did move Marquette into the top 10 of the top 25 and 1. They're up to number 8, dropped Purdue down to number 9. Next up for Marquette, Saturday against Georgia. That's in the Bahamas. Purdue, Saturday against Marshall. That'll be inside Mackey Arena. We come back. I try to tell you, Mark Few. Listen, I trust Viejas. I trust Mark Few, but I ranked him. And I told you.
You did.
Mark Few is more trustworthy than Viejas. Proved it on Monday night. We'll talk about that next. First, let's get a word from our partners.
Historic rivals with unforgettable seasons meet in a game of honor. The Army-Navy game presented by USAA. December 14th on CBS.
Final score, Gonzaga 80, San Diego State 67. That was Monday night. Graham Ike took 9 shots, made 7 of them. Finished with 23 points, 9 rebounds, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. So now the Zags are 4-0. They got wins over Baylor, Arizona State, San Diego State, and the UMass Lowell, Mississippi Riverhawks. Barring a surprise, a 26 straight trip to the NCAA tournament. That's on the way.
That's on the way.
I think it's reasonable to predict a 10th straight trip to the Sweet 16 might be on tap. And maybe, just maybe, the Zags going to end up in their third Final Four, maybe even the third national title game. Maybe they win the first national championship next April in San Antonio. For what it's worth, right now, Gonzaga is number 1 at EvanMiya.com. What'd you make, Norlander, of what the Zags did inside Viejas late Monday?
On CBS Sports Network. I was hoping for a good game. Again, San Diego State really not operating on all cylinders there, and it was just not going to happen. In fact, Gonzaga was able to win this despite, B- effort probably from offense. They were only 5 of 20 from 3-point range in the game. Ryan Nembhard had 19 points, 10 assists. He had a really nice game there. And actually, the thread between the first 2 games we're talking about here is Marquette avenged this loss last season against Purdue. Zags did the same thing here. Remember, Aztecs went into Spokane last year and won by 10 over the Bulldogs, which eventually led to that situation where we were in February talking about like Gonzaga's kind of going to win this game against Kentucky, or they might have an at-large situation. They made it a 9th straight Sweet 16, so no harm, no foul there. But yeah, GP, Fewey's team got out to an early lead and was able to keep, I wouldn't even say arm's length. I think San Diego State was even further than that. And Nick Boyd was the FAU transfer. He had himself a good game. He had 23 points for San Diego State. But Gonzaga was able to play into SDSU's physicality. I think it went 27 of 31 from the foul line in this game. So it got to the line plenty and made most of its shots, which you win and lose a game for 24 different reasons, but if you are able, like that's one of those things where if you're able to get 30 free throw trips in a game and you're hitting at above an 85% rate, like things usually will tend to work themselves out and you'll find yourself on the winning side after 40 minutes. And that's exactly what happened here to get Gonzaga to 4-0 and get a true road win. Will almost certainly be, we would think, a quad 1 road win by the time we're looking at resumes here, and that might wind up being an important data point if they're going for a 1 seed there. So good on them. San Diego State remains a wait and see. We talked about it in the Mountain West and Best of the Rest preview show. There's just been a lot of roster turnover here. There's some question marks about offensive reliability with the Aztecs. Dutcher has done a really nice job here, but we're about to learn more about San Diego State because it's gonna be playing some big time opponents on neutral floors here. So it's got Creighton, it's got Oregon and the Players Era Festival. So that kind of stuff is coming up, and we'll wait and see on more. But this to me was more about, can Gonzaga go into a really harsh environment and win the game by any means necessary? It didn't even need by any means necessary. It got it done. EK and Nembhard were the 2 standouts.
Yeah, San Diego State, they just lost so much. They're not what they've been. That seems pretty clear. But that building is still, you go in there and win in that environment, you've done something. And so that was impressive stuff from Gonzaga. They now have 5 players averaging at least 11.5 points per game. Graham Ike's at the top of that, 14.5. He's only averaging 18 minutes per game because there's been so blowout.
Really? That's a pretty surprising stat.
He's averaging a 14.5 points in less than 18 minutes per game.
Wow.
The Zags right now, number 1, I mentioned at EvanMiya.com. They're also number 1 in adjusted offensive efficiency at BartTorvik.com. Caleb Battle, he's in his 6th year of college, 4th different school. He's 14.3 points, shooting 55% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. Obviously that won't hold up, but like off to a great start. They're not turning the ball over. Their offensive turnover percentage is 12.3. That ranks 11th in the country. Just rock solid, Shaka Smart said what he said about Purdue last night. Outside of UConn, they got the best program, and I'm not here to argue that, but if he'd have said the exact same thing about Gonzaga after beating Gonzaga, I wouldn't argue with that one either. Like, there were some people who thought maybe the changing landscape of the sport, Tommy Lloyd leaving for Arizona, might make that program dip a bit, and I understood the argument, understood it. It just hasn't happened really yet. They're rocking and rolling like always, and I'm not predicting this will be Mark's best team, but they are number 1 in some of the computer rankings right now.
Yeah, Battle, we've talked about, he wears that Gretzky 99, which I still taking a minute to get used to there. But yeah, he started his career at Butler, played at Temple he was on Temple's roster for 3 seasons, obviously had injury issues. Arkansas a season ago, and that didn't go so well. And so now he's he chose wisely because he didn't make the tournament at Arkansas or Temple, but he's gonna do that here at Gonzaga. Gonzaga is going to play in the battle for Atlantis upcoming, so they've got some really good and nice opportunities. A good win for the Bulldogs, and as you know, we'll get to some games ahead here. What's been nice about this week is we've gotten some appealing, at least one per night, appealing non-con game to watch. So Gonzaga San Diego State was the only one on Monday. And then on Tuesday, you had Purdue and Marquette. We'll get to what to look ahead here, but it's been pretty good, and there's been at least something for college basketball fans to look at here. Quick tour around. There's not much to get to, frankly. I did notice, and I'm sure you saw this as well. UConn beat East Texas A&M 81-46. I drove up to Stores on Monday just to peek in on practice. I'm going to see UConn and everyone out in Maui, but reigning double champs, I wanted to get eyes on them. I had not been to a practice yet this season. So Dan Hurley, man, they're preparing for East Texas A&M, and I say this as a compliment, but I was surprised. They went for 3 hours in practice the day before low major. Like, oh my gosh! But they had to be thorough. East Texas A&M, like they switch everything. They truly switch 1 through 5. So there was stuff that they needed to prepare for that, frankly, no other team that they're going to play this season, I think, does. So that was part of it. But tied to that, so they win 81-46. And he sits down at the post-game presser and he just calls the performance comically bad. Comically bad. 81-46. Comically bad, but it
Well,
was
you know what? He's right. He's right, which is why, and I'm not. This is not a UConn criticism. It's a college basketball criticism. Don't play these games.
Well, no, I know, but he was saying his team's showing against East Texas A&M.
I know, but I know. My point is, if you can be comically bad and still win by 1,000, you shouldn't be playing the game.
Yeah, fair enough. I get you. Yeah, I don't by the way, I don't disagree. Oh, and on that note, UConn non-con strength of schedule at KenPom, 363 out of 363. They have the worst non-con. Now this is about to change, and they've got actually their whole schedule arrangement is pretty fascinating because they play nothing but tomato cans or exclusively like top 35 teams. So they've got Memphis and then either Michigan State or Colorado, and then whoever on the other side, Iowa State, Auburn, North Carolina, Dayton. Like they're going to get good stuff in Maui. Then they're going to play Maryland Eastern Shore, which is 360th at KenPom.
Yeah.
But then they've got Baylor at home. They're at Texas. They've got Gonzaga at the Garden. So it's massive extremes. I don't know if there's another team, frankly, that has such drastic different. There's not that you can't even mix in one top 4 A10 team. It's an interesting.
It always like I feel silly like sitting here acting like I should be telling Dan Hurley what to do with his basketball program. Right? It's stupid. Like he needs advice from nobody.
That's a squirrel.
Yeah, that's what he'd say to you.
And anytime I mention this, I don't mean it about Dan or his staff or his schedule maker or UConn. I just mean broadly speaking, there are too many games like this in college basketball, and I wish we had fewer of them.
Note from UConn, by the way, the Huskies are 47-3 in the past 50 games, and in the past 10 years, only UConn now, Gonzaga from 20 to 22. Virginia from 2017 to 2019 and Kentucky from 2014 to 2016 were able to do that. Notably, Virginia and Kentucky won national championships in those stretches, and it's conceivable that Gonzaga would have applied to that as well. There was no 2020 tournament, but they were on the short list of national championship contenders there. Elsewhere, real quick, K-State actually had issues early against Mississippi Valley State, but they won 74-56, and Doug McDaniel didn't play because of a quote coach's decision.
He's a mess, isn't he? How many different coaches have to tell you to your face you're not allowed to play basketball right now?
Well, Doug McDaniel also had the Bronny James arrangement before Bronny James.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's only playing home games. I don't know. So he didn't play. And then Coleman Hawkins, this is via Ryan Gilbert, who covers K-State. He transcribed the quote. He said, quote, "If I'm being honest, I'm a little too hard on myself, but personally, I'd give myself an F. I know some of the fans were booing, would probably give me an F too, but it'll only get better from here as long as everyone stays patient." Hawkins, famously a $2 million man in the portal. He is averaging 6.8 points, shooting 24.3%, 7.0 rebounds. That's solid. Four assists. That's pretty good for a big man. And 2.3 steals. That's fine. It just comes when it comes to putting the ball through the ring. It's not really going there. So K-State there's been some early warning signs, and we will see if those are indicative of a rough season that might be ahead there. But that was also a notable post-game comment from a Tuesday night game. But other than that, not a ton. Anything else you want to hit on from Monday or Tuesday, GP?
Well, Bill Self got his 800th career win.
He did. You know what though? It feels like Bill Self is achieving some sort of
it does feel like
milestone, like every other week.
Yeah.
Like, Bill, can we take it down a notch, please?
Pass Fog Allen, get his 800th, and up next, Bill Self will be honored with his 801st win.
Yeah, exactly. But good on him. 800 career wins. I'm going to say there are. All right, quick little trivia time here. Let's trivia time each other. How many active coaches right now have at least 800 wins in men's D1? I'm going to say. I'll say 4.
I'm going to say 3. I'm going under. Like Price is Right.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up right now. Patino's there. You would think who else is going to be there? Calipari's probably there. Let me look here. Hold on, here we go. Although does this not have Patino? Or maybe Patino's not there.
Oh God,
he's not there. He's not there. Take it easy over there.
Prepare your trivia times.
No. This was impromptu. This is the best kind. What was your guess?
I said 3. Like Price is Right.
You're correct.
Of course.
Can you name the 3?
Yeah, of course I can. Bill Self.
Yep.
Rick Pitino.
No, I just said he wasn't there. Gosh,
Yeah, well, that
Matt,
was
bad.
yeah, but I'm counting Celtics and wins and stuff.
No, that's not how this works.
It's how it works. However, I want it to work.
I'm afraid not.
I think that's a squirrel.
Yeah, that's a squirrel answer there. Go ahead, keep guessing.
Greg Campy.
No, although yeah, I'm checking this. Patino should be here. You know what? Here's what I think went down.
Prepare your trivia times.
Well, college although this is College Basketball Reference has Patino with 858 wins. I think Wikipedia is knocking him. Your go-to source, by the way, is knocking him for the vacated wins. So 4. I was right. There are 4.
Jesus.
Patino, Self, not Campy. Who else? 2 more.
Yeah, it's
They're in the same conference.
Mark Few and Randy Bennett.
No.
It should be them.
No, we've got some Mark. It should be.
Yeah.
We've got some Mark Few guesses in the chat. Mark Few right now sitting at he's approaching 725 here, so he's not there yet. John Calipari and Rick Barnes are the other.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
It does. Yeah, you should have said it then.
Yeah, wow. Just let the record show. I prepare my trivia times.
Oh, that's no fun. Let's look ahead. Wednesday, only one game of note tonight, really.
And I'm looking forward to this one. I'm flying up to New York, be in studio tomorrow. I'll be in a hotel room tonight. It's a good one. Number 25, Illinois. Number 8, Alabama. They're going to do it in Birmingham. Will Riley has emerged as a real story. 6'8" freshman wing, leading Illinois in points per game at 17.7. He's a 5-star prospect in the class of 2024, but he didn't get the type of attention Cooper Flagg got or any of the Duke guys got. He was, I think, 20th in the class, according to 24/7 Sports. He's taken 4.3 3-pointers per game and making 69.2% of them. He was 5 of 6 from 3 in the season opener, finished with 31 points in that one. He actually sounds like a perfect Alabama player for Nate Oates, but he plays for Illinois, and obviously Alabama is going to be favored in Birmingham. But I'm looking forward to seeing Will Riley on this stage because I haven't seen him against this type of opponent on this type of stage this season because he hasn't been in a game like that.
You mentioned Greg Campy. Illinois just beat Campy's Oakland team a week ago, but other than that, they just haven't had a notable opponent yet. So now we get to see a first glimpse of the Fighting Illini, who, again, it's been low majors, or mid majors, so we'll see. But Underwood multiple times expressed his concern about his team's defensive acuity, and we'll see how they show up here with a good test. Bama coming off the loss against Purdue. How do they respond in what's going to be a pretty rough, in a good way, unless you lose all the games, but Bama just testing themselves relentlessly. They got this game, and then they got Players Era stuff. They're going to play Houston next Tuesday, but that's your go-to Wednesday night matchup. It's going to be on SEC Network at 9:00. What about Thursday, GP?
Well, on Thursday night, we got a nice doubleheader on CBS Sports Network. It'll be the Baha Mar Hoops event down in the Bahamas. I'm going to be in studio, like I said, in New York all night, talking about it with Adam Zucker, Wally Zerbiak, Roy Hibbert. First at 7:00 Eastern, it's number 13 Baylor against number 22 St. John's, and then 9:30 Eastern, unranked Virginia against number 11 Tennessee. So that's a wonderful doubleheader for us.
That's really, really tasty there. St. John's getting a real test with Baylor. And, Tennessee, Virginia getting a win over Nova last week. Yeah, that's some good quality ball. Again, those are 7 and 9:30 tips on Thursday night on CBS Sports Network, and some good stuff there. We also have daytime ball coming back. We have the Charleston Classic on Thursday. So really get you into the mood before we even get to Feast Week here. Miami Drake at noon on ESPN2, and that'll be followed by Oklahoma State FAU at 2:30. Seton Hall VCU at 5. Seton Hall has actually shown some really concerning signs early. We'll see if they can overcome VCU in that kind of spot there. So you put two college hoops teams playing at 12:00 on my television. I'm watching. It don't matter. Like, it does not matter. I'm watching if it's a top 5 matchup or if it's a couple of teams out of the Southland. I'm tractor beam. Suck me right in. I'm right there with you. So that'll get to the day going before you get to the stuff on CBS Sports Network. And then also Syracuse plays Texas in Brooklyn at 7 Eastern on ESPN2 on Thursday. We didn't mention this on the pod, but Kyan Anthony, as expected, he committed to Syracuse. So Carmelo's son's going to play there next season. Kind of a cool deal there, and I know Syracuse fans are pretty pumped about that. Adam Zucker included. So yeah, Syracuse, Texas, and Brooklyn at 7, and then that'll be followed by Texas Tech, St. Joe's, which is your sneaky good game of the night. That one actually has some potential to maybe be a pretty good one. That's at 9:30, and then Memphis is heading out to Maui, but it's stopping at San Francisco en route. So ESPN U 10 Eastern on Thursday. They're going to play San Francisco. It's actually a pretty wisely scheduled game for Penny Hardaway, provided you can win it, because that could really do well on the resume if you get that win. And, go ahead.
Like that could end up being a quad 1 win.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing it at the Chase Center in the NBA arena as opposed to on campus, which is I think
that's not what it's called, but yeah.
What do you mean? What? Oh, it might be.
Yeah, that's not what it's called. It's Golden Gate Mike Center.
Man, what do you think Golden Gate Mike's up to right now?
I have no idea.
What do you think he's doing right now?
What
Golden
do
Gate
you
Mike.
think? What do we think Mike Anderson is doing on a Wednesday morning in the middle of November?
Probably tore an Alcatraz.
Well, I don't think he's living in San Francisco.
Oh no, Mike Anderson moved to San Francisco. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
He loved it so much when he had to take the Reds tour out to San Francisco. That's still the funniest story. We were like, why is St. John's playing a game in San Francisco? And it was because they scheduled it for Chris Mullin, Warriors legend, and then they get rid of Chris Mullin and they make Mike Anderson go to San Francisco to play a neutral court game.
So that's how he became Golden Gate Mike.
Golden Gate Mike. But the point of the story is that he enjoyed it. I spent time in San Francisco. It's beautiful, and he enjoyed it so much when he was out there after after it was over in at St. John's. He decided, let's just take up residency in the Bay.
Posting up at the Presidio. Is that what's going on?
And I think this morning he was scheduled to tour Alcatraz.
Okay.
What if Mike Anderson were touring Alcatraz right now? What if you were in a group tour with Mike Anderson at Alcatraz right now?
Dream come true. That's what it would be. What the hell were we talking about? Memphis plays against San Francisco. Oh, and then just a goodie there. Oregon plays at Oregon State. They're obviously no longer in the same conference. That's 10 Eastern. That's an ESPN Plus game on Thursday night. But Thursday's pretty loaded across the board here, highlighted by the CBS Sports Network games. Clearly and unquestionably, Baylor, St. John's, Tennessee, Virginia. We'll talk about that and those results and what transpires on the Friday morning pod. Speaking of that,
let's figure it out right now.
You fly today. I fly tomorrow. I'll be in Tucson on Friday. So I think our plan here is, while we typically try and go live at 9 Eastern on our Wednesday, Friday morning shows, I think we're going to go at 10 Eastern Friday so I can get settled, set the table for the weekend, and recap anything notable on Wednesday and Thursday. So if you're one to watch the live shows, we appreciate you. Chat's been bumping a little bit here on this Wednesday morning. 10 Eastern Friday AM, we will set the table for you, and I'll be talking to you from Arizona, and GP will be talking to you from New York City.
I can't wait. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry Teagle, legend, Hook, Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching and listening to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. More of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So do that, and we will talk to you again real soon on Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Till then, take care.